It is Friday, April 19th, 2019. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a zero. Get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Friday. I did not go to Jiu-Jitsu, unfortunately. Had other things I had to take care of today. It was a very special day for the family. And so, unfortunately, I did not get my ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu today. However, I do intend to go tomorrow and have made arrangements in my schedule for doing exactly that. So, yeah, my day is always a little bit weird when I don't start off with a little bit of Jiu-Jitsu before I do this show. There's something about the way it kicks my brain in gear, you know, somebody trying to choke me out or something, kind of get your adrenaline a little bit pumped, you know. And typically when I don't do jiu-jitsu, I typically do a little bit of cardio beforehand, but I'm gonna have to wait until the music break for that one, because I'll tell you what, we had a family meal tonight and I only had one beer, but as soon as I got home, I immediately started passing out. It's like somebody just shut the oxygen off in the room and said, time to go night-night, kid. And that's what happened. So anyway, I'm a little bit kind of still asleep, you know. Still got that like post-nap reverie going on. I had an opportunity to listen to somebody kind of interesting this morning, Max Kaiser. I don't know if you know who Max Kaiser is, but I've been listening to Max since I can't even remember when I first started listening to Max Kaiser, but the one thing I've always been interested about with him is that he's always had his hand like halfway up the schwing of Hollywood and Washington when it comes to what's going on in the financial markets and in the market at large. And so, you know, it's always been one of those things that, you know, this guy, he's got his finger on the pulse. You know, he's got a little deeper perspective. I've always really liked people that can look at the same data sets as everybody else, but from personal intuition, upbringing, education, whatever it may be, a culmination of all, if not just one, they can see something completely different out of that data set. And you know, like things that would be warnings to the average rational person, but for whatever reason the analysts are just breezing over it because they think they can see some greater hold to it. And one of these people, you know, a Peter Schiff or a Max Kaiser will come along and be like, oh no man, that means this, and you're completely fucked in about 2 years if you don't do something to fix it. Hey, you know, that's what I try to be here in crypto. You know, it's like there have been several positions with regard to the scaling debate, and I don't care which side you're really on with that. You have a right to your opinion, but you don't have the right to try and force people into doing what you want them to do. And that's kind of gone away. You know, the ability to have that level of coercion over people's commerce, it's purely illusory at this point. You know, there are some that still hold on to the idea that, you know, we're in a little monetary paradigm where we get to tell you what you can buy and what you can sell and what rate you have to adhere to and all that. I'm sorry, that condition right there is what created the need for cryptocurrencies. Is because those are very important, very, very key factors in commerce that, if left to the rest of us to decide for ourselves, would make commerce in general look much different than it does today. Fortunately, we're actually going to have the opportunity to see how it's going to play out. You know, and so far from what I can tell, we've got a free and open future ahead of us. You know, for all the doomsaying I do on this show with regard to cryptocurrencies and Lightning Network and all that stuff, you know, these are well had concerns. I mean, you know, we've seen examples in the market already where governments have been using what resources they do have at their disposal to try and exert some influence over at least the most blatant abusers in this space. But in the longer term, I think we're going to find that the cost of even engaging in anything more than like a direct enforcement action for a real like serial abuser or whatnot. I don't think it's going to be worth it. Tax evader, who gives a fuck? Did the motherfucker pay for the goods or not? That's going to be the concern. It's not going to be, did they get enough money from that commerce to be able to pay for the licensing agency that oversees that? That's not going to be a real big concern, I don't think. Not as big as it is today. And I mean, I use for that as an example fishing. I mean, because I'm a fisherman, but fishing licenses, man, it's like the Democrats and the Republicans, they look at it and they're like, oh, hey, there's a way we can steal more money out of somebody's pocket and not necessarily give them anything for it. I was able to fish before I got a fishing license, or before I had to start buying fishing licenses, and nothing about having that license increases my ability to catch fish, so I'm really not getting anything out of the deal, except for the possibility that the state is properly assigning the funds that it's gathering and putting cops on the street to bust people for being over limit and stuff like that. Other than that, I'm not really getting anything out of it. And more when I'm looking around, I'm not seeing any kind of enforcement actions going on. So that money's going to somebody's mahogany desk in their office, not whether or not they have people out on the river busting people for having salmon that they're not supposed to have because they're snagging them or something like that. And so we're back to a state of being where that is going to be purely optional. I mean, it is optional right now whether or not you go out and you buy a fishing license. But whether or not we have to honor the licensing system or the license at all is it's up to question now. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down into some music. As far as where we're going to go today on our articles, I really couldn't tell you. I like to go from the hip. You know that. You wouldn't be here otherwise. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw it down. And as far as a first dance is going to be, it's got to be No Lives Matter, Body Count, First Dance, here on Coin Metal. And that was Within the Ruins with New Holy War. Yeah, the cryptosphere's been such that people get all, religious about their beliefs and their convictions concerning cryptocurrencies. And to some extent I find humor in it, and to some degree I actually applaud it. Making the transition from only using fiat currencies to using cryptocurrencies as well is big enough. It's quite a large undertaking, honestly. I mean, when you really think about the conceptual barriers that people face with regard to currency in general, such as nobody else can make it except for a government, or a bank. Banks are the only ones that can manage the creation of money. When getting over that one, it's like hearing your entire life that only Superman can make U.S. dollars. Superman has the magic wand, and you can never be Superman, so you can never have the magic wand, and you can never make currency too. Well, Bitcoin changed all that. Bitcoin just handed Superman a big old chunk of kryptonite and said, fuck you, I'm taking over here, pal. and that's where we're at now. And so like I said, we're talking about a seismic shift when talking about like the concept behind it. What? Superman's not the only guy that can make currency anymore? How the fuck did that happen? How am I supposed to live with that? And bankers and governments, they're in the same boat as you are. They're like, how do we deal with that? We can't tax it if Superman don't make it. What the fuck? But this is a reality that we are going to have to accept into our hearts and minds, because it is the reality that we do face. Aside from everybody else's opinions about which coins are good and which coins are bad, the reality is it doesn't matter. The reality is, does it work? Do you trust it enough to use it as money? And if so, why aren't you? You know, I mean, I'm looking at Cointelegraph right here, and I want to do a refresh really quick, because every once in a while it'll hang. Yeah, Bitcoin right now is at 5308, and that's the top of the range right now. I mean, like if you were to look at the median range, you know, where it'll spike a little bit above that and it'll tank a little bit below that, but that's like the top of the median range right now. It's 5300. And I mean, for Bitcoin to be there after all of the shit that we've been through, the last 10 years have not been an easy ride, man. And I don't expect the next 10 years to be any easier. I expect it to be a little more difficult at some points and a little easier at others. And of course, the easier ways are always going to win out. Anyway, I got this article here on Cointelegraph, and this is by Marie Hewlett. FinCEN takes first enforcement action against P2P cryptocurrency exchanger. Now, this one is kind of interesting because that's something that a lot of us can do without a whole bunch of hubbub. You know, you can convert US dollars over to Bitcoin without too much effort whatsoever. So the idea that you actually need a license in order to do that is kind of silly. Anyway, this is authored about 17 hours ago. Here we go. The United States Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, has assessed a civil money penalty for a California resident accused of willfully violating money transmission laws in his work as a peer-to-peer exchanger of virtual currencies. The news was announced in an official FinCEN news release on April 18th, which we're going to right-click on. FinCEN, the U.S. Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Unit, says the move represents its first enforcement action against peer-to-peer cryptocurrency exchangers. Eric Powers of Kern County, California, has been served a $35,000 fine and debarred from any future activities that would qualify his work as a money services business, the agency states. This was determined on the basis that violated his statutory reporting and registration obligations under the U.S. Bank Security Act, as the news release outlines. Quote, as money transmitters, peer-to-peer exchangers are required to comply with the BSA Bank Security Act obligations that apply to MSBs, money services businesses, including registering with FinCEN, maintaining an effective AML anti-money laundering program, filing suspicious activity reports, SARs, and currency transaction reports, CTRs. Nobody's going to fucking do that in crypto. According to FinCEN's assessment filing, Powers conducted over 1,700 transactions as a money transmitter between December 12th and September 2014, buying and selling Bitcoin on behalf of customers. He is reported to have publicized his services on peer-to-peer sites such as BitcoinTalk.org and to have coordinated crypto transactions for users of the now-defunct Bitcoin exchange, Mt. Gox. The news release states that Powers also processed numerous suspicious transactions, over 100 related to the illicit marketplace Silk Road, without filing an SAR. He is also reported to have conducted businesses via the dark web client Tor without verifying clients' identities or the source of their funds. Dude, that's why you use Tor to do your fucking transactions, is because you don't want to share that information. Fucking assholes. Over 200 of Powers' transactions reportedly involved the physical exchange of currency worth $10,000 without filing a CTR. A further 116 BTC purchases worth approximately $5 million were reportedly conducted in-person cash transactions with individuals identified through an online Bitcoin forum. The vast majority of these 150 involved the transfer of over $10,000 within a business day, often in coffee shops or other public places. Dude was fucking smart, kind of. Quote, We will take enforcement action based on what we have publicly stated since our March 2013 guidance that exchangers of convertible virtual currency are money transmitters and must register as MSBs. FinCEN Director Kenneth A. Blanco states. As previously reported, FinCEN's director revealed in late summer 2018 that the number of crypto-related SARs filed with the agency had surged, coming to exceed 1,500 per month. Yeah, I would suspect they've probably dropped since then, and it's mostly because everybody who is ratting on themselves and all that is probably winnowing out. You know, it's like they figure the cost involved of having somebody report an SAR, and they're just like, dude, we're not getting any level of protection for doing this shit, so why am I going to continue to do this shit? And let's read this one comment here. Spy Gadget Reynolds says, and how are the efforts of FinCEN actually working out in terms of keeping, stopping, or even limiting the massive amounts, $250 billion in just one instance in Estonia, of money laundering with the majors such as HSBC, UBS, JP Morgan Chase, etc.? Did anyone actually go to jail? Hello? Not so effective, correct? Such hypocrites. I could not agree more, Mr. Spy Gadget Reynolds. And somebody said something really quick here. Where's that? Ooh, I got tipped. Yay! Thank you, Jeremiah. Yeah, I've been posting in the Verge Currency Discord channel, and for some reason the tip bot nicks you every time you post a URL, and so somebody just tipped me, and it's offsetting my total expenditures for the show, I'm sure. Thank you, Jeremiah. Anyway, so yeah, FinCEN shooting themselves in the ass all the way. I've been warning for years now, that they intend to take this money transmitter bullshit seriously. They redefine that shit in the books for a reason. Okay? Now, this guy getting popped for a mere $5 million worth of transactions, while, you know, like we saw in Mr. Gadget Reynolds here says $250 billion in just one instance in Estonia. That's one transaction. Okay, that's a shit ton of fucking AML, KYC not being done here. But because it's the big banks, we don't care about that. Oh, you know, it's cool. That one actually benefits us, right? No, not really. You know, I find it really, really sad that, you know, we're talking about the most accountable systems that have ever been created with regard to cryptocurrencies, and yet the amount of fraud and theft that's actually happening here in crypto is minuscule. It's like a flea bite on a mosquito. Subatomic by comparison to the actual amount of fuckery going on in the quote-unquote legitimate finance systems. We wouldn't be here. Bitcoin would not be here if we could trust that everything was on the up and up with fiat currencies. We wouldn't even be here. It wouldn't even be a consideration. People would not say to themselves, hey, let's create a global payment system that doesn't require any bankers and doesn't require any government, if the systems that are replete with government and bankers and shit worked perfectly. And they don't. Anyway, let's get into this FinCEN statement here. FinCEN penalizes peer-to-peer virtual currency exchanger for violations of anti-money laundering laws. This is authored on April 18th, 2019. Washington. The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, has assessed a civil penalty against Eric Powers for willfully violating the Bank Securities Act BSA Act registration program and reporting requirements. Mr. Powers failed to register as a money services business, had no written policies or procedures for ensuring compliance with the BSA, and failed to report suspicious transactions and currency transactions. Mr. Powers operated as a peer-to-peer exchanger of convertible virtual currency and money transmitters. Peer-to-peer exchanges are required to comply with the BSA obligations that apply to MSBs, including registering with FinCEN, developing, implementing, and maintaining an effective AML program, filing suspicious activity reports, SARs, and currency transaction reports, CTRs, and maintaining certain records. In other words, be prepared to rat on all their customers at any one time. Obligations under the BSA apply to money transmitters regardless of their size. LNs. And FinCEN Director Kenneth A. Blanco, quote, "It should not come as a surprise that we will take enforcement action based on what we have publicly stated since our March 2013 guidance, that exchanges of convertible virtual currencies such as Mr. Powers are money transmitters and must register as MSBs. In fact, there were indications that Mr. Powers specifically was aware of these obligations but willfully failed to honor them." Yeah, that's actually because you don't have any fucking legal authority over cryptocurrency, asshole. Continuing. "Such failures put our financial system and national security at risk and jeopardize the safety and well-being of our people, as well as undercut responsible innovation in the financial bullshit. That's utter bullshit. Let me get to the end of this thing before I pontificate anymore. Mr. Powers advertised his intent to purchase and sell Bitcoin on the internet. He completed transactions by either physically delivering or receiving currency in person, sending or receiving currency through the mail, or coordinating transactions by wire through a depository institution. Yeah, you know what? None of which they actually found out until after they busted him, I'm sure. Mr. Powers processed numerous suspicious transactions without ever filing an SAR, including doing business related to the illicit darknet marketplace, Silk Road. Yeah, in other words, they found his information or found out about him through the Silk Road investigation, as well as servicing customers through the Onion Router or Tor, without taking steps to determine customer identity and whether funds were derived from illegal activity. Yeah, because he didn't care, just like you don't really care. Mr. Powers conducted over 200 transactions involving the physical transfer of over more than $10,000 in currency, yet failed to file a single CTR. Good boy. For instance, Mr. Powers conducted approximately 160 purchases of Bitcoin for approximately $5 million through in-person cash transactions conducted in public places such as coffee shops with an individual identified through a Bitcoin forum. Of these cash transactions, 150 were in person and were conducted in separate instances for over $10,000 during a single business day. God damn, good man. Each of these 150 transactions necessitated the filing of a CTR. Yeah, according to you, and only you. FinCEN notes that this is the first enforcement action against a peer-to-peer virtual currency exchanger and the first instance in which it has penalized an exchanger of virtual currency for failure to file CTRs. Yeah, in other words, this is a test case. This is like a shot over the bow to you if you're out there trying to do this shit without licensing, then whatever. FinCEN also notes that since his infractions, Mr. Powers has cooperated with FinCEN efforts. In addition to paying a $36,000 fine, Mr. Powers has agreed to an industry bar that would prohibit him from providing money transmission services or engaging in any other activity that would make him a, quote, money services business for purposes of FinCEN regulations. Now, this is their mission according to them. The mission of the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network is to safeguard the financial system from illicit use, combat money laundering, and promote national security through the strategic use of financial authorities and the collection, analysis, and dissemination of financial intelligence. Okay, so let's dive into this thing. You'll note that none of this, not their investigation of Mr. Powers, not their punishment of Mr. Powers, none of it had anything to do with any discernible quote-unquote criminal activity. He did not commit fraud. He followed through on every single one of his transactions. He got the cash, they got the Bitcoin, everybody happy. No theft. He did not steal money from anybody. They got their Bitcoin, they happy. He got his money, he happy. This is not a criminal investigation. This was a fishing expedition based wholly on the investigation of the Silk Road. I can almost guarantee you that they either got his IP address, they got some reference to Mr. Powers' financial activity on the Silk Road, one or the other. Maybe some of all. I don't know. But I do know this, that it was not the result of an active investigation of just average users out there. They narrowed down and they hammered on him because he conducted a sizable amount of commerce. So now what this tells you is that you are free to continue to do exactly what you were doing yesterday. There is the possibility that you'll get busted, but there are plenty of ways that you can use to get around the issues that Mr. Powers faced. Now, as far as their actual authority, I don't believe they have any authority over what you're doing in crypto. And if you'd like a little bit of reference for this particular issue, you know, the FinCEN's advisement on money services businesses and all that other bullshit, I've got an episode up on my YouTube channel, FinCEN, and if you look up, it's something to do with the first coffin nail in crypto, and listen to that. I read their 2013 advisement on that, and you can, if you know how to listen and you understand what you're doing here, you can hear me either state explicitly how to get around them, or how their management of information and whatnot will allow several loopholes for you to winnow yourself through. You know, that the fact of the matter is, like I said, this was like something that fell in their lap. This wasn't the product of, you know, they're watching the Bitcoin blockchain and they're assessing from the geolocation data on the metadata of the transactions from the IP it was transacted from, or what. No, none of that. None of that. Now, of course, during the time that they're going to start interrogating you about your supposed quote-unquote criminal activity, you know, conducting a transaction without filing a SAR or CTR, fuck you. Do you really think some fucking Lightning Network user, when and if it ever gets to the point where somebody could transact $10,000 through the Lightning Network, do you really think that at that point, some kid who's running some fucking Raspberry node that he's hosting funds on the Lightning Network with is going to be filing SARs and CT? Fuck you! Bullshit! It's not going to happen. But according to them, these kids are going to be fucking quote-unquote money transmitters. Now, the idea is that they're going to basically pre-price a lot of us out with minor fees, I think. But in the longer term, though, when we get to that point, there's going to be enough kids, and I mean literal kids, people 16 years old, maybe even younger, who are going to have enough funds hosted on their fucking Lightning node that FinCEN's going to go after them, or be able to go after them. You know, it's like these people pretend like we don't know there are financial no zones in this planet. You know, I mean, financial no zones as in places where the financial regulations are so lax that multi-trillion-dollar transactions are going every day and nobody gives a shit about it. There's no taxation on it. There's no friction on it. And it's because it's all going on in the back rooms. It's not interfacing anywhere where FinCEN can see it or the SEC can see it. It's happening in fucking Zug, Switzerland, or the Isle of Man, or Costa Rica, or shit. What's that other one? Not the Philippines, but I think it starts. It's Costa Rica. It might be Costa Rica. No, it's not Costa Rica. What's his face lives there? Peter Schiff lives there. Damn it. Maybe Panama? No, it's not Panama. They're Puerto Rico. They don't have any taxes on income. No income taxes. They also don't have as much financial regulation as we do here in the United States. So if you wanted to avoid all of this fucking SAR bullshit, FinCEN bullshit, you just move down to Puerto Rico. So anyway, there are places on this planet, we know that there are places on this planet that have very, very lax financial regulation that do have significant internet infrastructure, and there's a significant amount of quote-unquote legacy business going on through there, legacy banking and whatnot. And everybody's cool with these places existing because it's all the rich people that get to participate in these markets. Now this guy, Mr. Powers, he created the equivalent of an economic autonomous zone between him and his customers directly on a peer-to-peer basis every time he engaged in a transaction. He did what only rich people were able to do yesterday from him and one other person. He did not require a special island out in the middle of the fucking Atlantic that nobody's going to bother to ship cops out to bust people. You know, that's one of the reasons why those things exist on little islands and whatnot, is because the cost of regulatory enforcement is prohibitive. It doesn't pencil out, so they don't bother to go after it on a one-off basis. You know, if it were something collective and it didn't really involve any royal families or any friends of any presidents or anything like that, they would bust that shit. You know, just like Mr. Powers, he probably didn't have any really bigwig interactions with people. You know, he didn't have any presidents in his Rolodex or anything like that. No, he was just a guy just like you. Did his business out of a coffee shop that he did not own. And you know, he would have stayed poor and out of influence and all of that without cryptocurrencies. With cryptocurrencies, he conducted over $5 million worth of transactions. You know, if we were really about celebrating innovation, if we were really about celebrating success, if we were really about negating threats to our economy, we would be lauding this motherfucker. His cost was minimal by comparison to, say, a JP Morgan Chase. In order to conduct that $5 million worth of transactions, JP Morgan Chase would probably have to be employing about 30 people in a building that they would have to be paying rent for. But this guy managed to skirt all of that bullshit. You know, FinCEN, they talk about filing SARs and CTRs. They have no consideration for what kind of cost that puts on Mr. Powers. He would have to have 3, maybe 4 people dedicated to doing one thing: filing fucking paperwork with FinCEN. This is how they keep, quote unquote, you know, you hear people talk about the man keeping you down. This is how the man, quote unquote, keeps you down. He takes something that's completely free for you to fucking do. Doesn't require any oversight or anything like that in order for you to successfully perform and puts all kinds of regulatory bullshit on top of it, and makes all kinds of requirements and binds you up with a bunch of red tape that does cost you. It does cost you to have an office. It does cost you to have a filing cabinet. It does cost you to have somebody to manage all the fucking paperwork that these people are asking you to have. I mean, if I'm conducting a transaction where I'm taking cash and I'm converting it to Bitcoin for somebody, I do not give a fuck what they're going to use the Bitcoin to spend. What to buy. I don't care if they're going to buy a kilogram of cocaine. I don't care if they're going to buy an AR-15. I don't care if they're going to be buying depleted uranium rounds or some shit like that. I don't care. It's not my fucking problem. The reasons people would do these things, that's for somebody else to worry about. Why would somebody buy an AR-15? Maybe they felt threatened. That's not for me to judge. I might have something to say about if they actually use the AR-15 in a criminal manner. I might have something to say about that. But what about the person that they're trying to defend themselves from? If it's not me, I really don't care. You know, as long as they're not being proactive about it, I don't care. And this idea that I have to or that I should, this is what bugs me the most about it. It's not my business what business you're going to do with Bitcoin. It's not. I shouldn't care. There should be so little friction out there for people to do commerce that they don't think about buying AR-15s to conduct preemptive measures against other people. That they're perfectly happy being able to do transactions for quote-unquote legitimate items that don't cause the death or injury to anybody else. But unfortunately, the regulatory structures that we have available to us, or rather oppressing us, are putting us to where we do look to desperate things in order to make money just to get by. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And you know, I haven't played this song in a really long time, and I've played it quite a bit, but I love it. So here it is again. Skindred, Nobody, here on Coin Metal. Y'all freaky motherfuckers. A little bit of Beastie Boys there for you. It wasn't intentional. I let the computer pick that one, but only because I was in the middle of a tweet. It happens. It's only me doing this, so you know I got to be everywhere at once. Anyway, back to our subject matter. These guys, Coinbase. You know, there, as we were saying previous to the music break, there is a cost to regulatory compliance. And one of the things that we tend to harp on this show is watching out for your own bunghole. That means good InfoSec. Good security of who you're giving your information to, who you're sharing it with, for what purpose, whatever. But watch out for your own shit, right? So, you know, in doing so, you kind of got to weigh out the reputation of certain entities that you're having to do business with as far as their success at fulfilling on the promise of the service they're providing. You know, and Coinbase, for the most part, is my dealings with them have only been poor on certain points, and those being their basically the time it takes for them to get their shit done, and also the cost associated, because they charge you way too much to do anything in cryptocurrencies. You know, I was figuring it out the other day between trading fees, fees on an exchange for making trades. Between those and Coinbase, I'm losing a shit ton of money. I mean, if it ever did come to a point where I made enough in trading or whatever that I could consider it actually an income that I'd bother reporting, because honestly, it's very tiny. If I ever got to that point, I would be counting those transaction fees on the exchanges. I would be counting Coinbase's transaction fees, all of that shit. And, you know, by the time I was actually reporting the volume that I made, they'd be getting a net. Okay, either that or I would be counting my costs. And, you know, anyway, continuing on, here it is. Coinbase, head of product, says the company is putting exchanges' funds at risk versus customers. And this is by Carl T., authored April 13th, 2019. So yes, penis. The head of product for Coinbase Custody, Sam Mackingvale, explained that the firm puts its funds at risk rather than the funds that users hold in the platform. During an interview with Laura Shin, he gave some insights on how Coinbase works. Mackingvale talks about Coinbase and how it works. A few weeks ago, Coinbase Custody informed that users will be able to stake their currencies in order to earn profits with them. The first currency supported for staking is Tezos, XTZ. According to Mackingvale, when customer deposits Tezos, the platform delegates the coins into a cold storage address. A baker that Coinbase runs. He went on saying that Coinbase Custody is the only party placing its funds at risk. Moreover, Mackingvale explained that Coinbase was not storing customer funds in cold storage wallets, but it was also the validator that the customers were delegating to. On the matter, he said, quote, Coinbase Custody in this case is running the baker that is actually actively participating in the blockchain. So, baking blocks and endorsing other blocks and Outcoin's funds in our cold storage are delegated to our baker. The platform can control the bond for the baker and more infrastructure related to it. In this way, it is possible to offer a highly secure and available service for users. The second digital currency that is going to be supported by Coinbase Custody for staking is the Maker MKR protocol. According to Rune Christensen, the founder and CEO of Maker DAO, Coinbase Custody will be providing an essential service for institutional holders. They will be able to participate in the system and vote with their MKR tokens. The services that are now being provided by Coinbase Custody will give more tools to investors that want to have a more active role in the crypto market. In the second quarter of 2019, Coinbase Custody clients will be voting on Maker proposals and Tezos amendments, as well as validating Cosmos and more. In the future, the intention is to add more virtual currencies for users to have more active presence in the space. I don't see how that works. How exactly are you having more participation in the space if your participation is actually happening through Coinbase? That would mean that the participation is actually Coinbase is having more participation in the market, not you. I think people mistake the idea of cryptocurrencies. You know, they think of them, I think, as kind of like stocks, you know, where you have to trade on, say, the NYSE or the Dow or something like that, and that's where you're expressing your value on the stock. You know, it's like your whatever profits you make is actually there on the market, and it's through the market, right? And so it kind of breaks your line of association. You're not thinking about the fact that the Dow is actually participating in the market. It's not me. I mean, they might take my money and buy some amount of shares of some company, but I'm not actually giving the company my money. You know, when I buy Apple stock, I'm not actually giving my money directly to Apple. I'd probably get a better rate of return if I did. But I'm giving my money to the Dow or the operators that are running the NYSE. I'm giving my money to them and expressing my market confidence to them. I am expressing my confidence to them and saying, to the rest of the market, I put these guys, these guys are legitimate and they don't manipulate the prices to their own benefits and they don't front run trade me on their own exchange. I'm putting my confidence in them. With cryptocurrencies, we don't actually have to do that. You can just go out there and buy the coin from somebody who's mining it. Be like, hey, yo, Doge miner, I like your Doge. I'm willing to give you 54 Satoshis per coin. What do you think of that exchange rate? No, you want 64. That's a little bit high for me, man. How about 62? Would you go for 62? All right, cool. Let's do business. We could be doing that through a Discord channel right now. We could be doing that through a Skype conversation. And as long as both of us fulfilled on both ends, no one's the wiser. Nobody else needs to be concerned with it. And there are those exchanges going on. I mean, you just look at the Bitcoin blockchain, you can see $1 million transactions. Do you really think that Coinbase is doing all of those? I assure you, it's not just Coinbase. It's your next door neighbor. He's been rattling, stacking them sats on Cryptopia or some other exchange. He's cashing them out, man. He's cashing out to fiat, and he's going to go to Costa Rica for a week or two, do something he's never been able to do before, visit places he's never been able to see before. And all through virtue of cryptocurrency, and it was because he didn't have to report things like SARs and CTRs and all that other bullshit to FinCEN. Anyway, I was a little bit concerned with the title on this. I thought it would actually tie into what we were talking about, but I was deceived. Damn you, BitcoinExchangeGuide.com. There is a cost of Coinbase being the custodian. Again, they're the arbiter in between. They express to both the cryptocurrencies on one side, where they're buying volumes of certain cryptocurrencies, and they're arranging their own exchange rate. So they're basically like a trader between you and the market. And this puts us in a realm of Trustville too, because Coinbase could adjust their interest in a coin at any time. They could say tomorrow that, we're just not going to buy any more Bitcoin. We'll buy some Bitcoin Cash, we'll buy Litecoin, we'll buy Tezos, we'll buy Ethereum, but we're done buying Bitcoin for right now. And that would probably have a significant impact on the price of Bitcoin. But this again is because people have deferred their interest in Bitcoin over to Coinbase to manage. In the longer term, I don't see that Coinbase will continue to exist as it does today. They will either become a much more lightweight organization that is conducting on-the-fly real-time transactions for people, or they will not remain. Because that's what's possible today. Real-time, peer-to-peer commerce is possible right now. We could be doing commerce. I could have a video fucking feed right here and be receiving funds to an address that I'm holding up. I could be holding up like a cue card in front of the camera and be like, "Hey, yo, send me money." And if you liked what you were hearing and seeing, you send me money. We don't have to involve Coinbase in it, or the IRS or FinCEN. You just send me money. That's how that works. Anyway, I saw this and I had to click on it because Binance has had this really weird relationship with Doge. I think it's basically they want Doge to pay a listing fee, and Doge doesn't want to pay a listing fee. And I don't see that Doge should have to pay a listing fee, honestly, because it's one of the oldest cryptocurrencies out there. Anyway, this is on BitcoinExchangeGuide.com, and hopefully it's not a bunch of fucking disinformation under a weird title that we really liked. Continuing. Who let the Doges out as Elon Musk's favorite crypto coin is now on Binance's Trust Wallet? How long until listing on Binance? This is authored April 19th, 2019 by Bitcoin Exchange Guide News Team. Continuing. Elon Musk's favorite digital coin is now available on Binance's Trust Wallet. Dogecoin is now officially listed on Binance's Trust Wallet as one of the decentralized and peer-to-peer cryptocurrencies available on the platform. Dogecoin, which is presently listed as one of the 26th most significant cryptocurrencies by market share, joins other leading household names such as Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Litecoin on Trust Wallet's catalog. The CEO and founder of Trust Wallet announced that adding Dogecoin was more or less a matter of balancing the tenets of popularity and potential for scalability. The move comes just a few days after Dogecoin has been trending alongside the CEO of Tesla Motors, Elon Musk. What the fuck? The move comes just a few days after Dogecoin has been trending. That's the word that we fucked up. Alongside the CEO of Tesla Motors, Elon Musk. The CEO has been severally on the record issuing his unrelenting support for Doge, to the extent of pushing its price and market capitalization a few notches on its growth graph. That being said, it is no secret that Trust Wallet's listing of Dogecoin has been largely influenced by the fact that Doge performed incredibly well in their latest poll, which showed that the cryptocurrency ranked second in both popularity and demand among users of Trust Wallet. Cardano ranked first, while NEO and EOS came in second and third respectively. At the time of press, Doge occupies a decent position 26 among all cryptos and tokens that are available for public trading. Its position is backed by a trading volume of in the range of $336 million against a trading value of 0.002823 per token. I guess that's dollars. This is actually a 0.19% decline over the last 24 hours. What's more is, it is just a few weeks ago that Huobi made an announcement of embracing Doge as the crypto community's darling on April 3rd, 2019, and went ahead and included it on its main listing. Doge, it's getting some fucking respect. The Dogening, it's happening, man. That's been like my hashtag for a long time, the Dogening. And it's because I think that Doge actually does what cryptocurrencies are supposed to do. Allow you to transfer funds from one person to another without the involvement of a third party. I mean, what more do you want? It's pretty fast too, so, I think in when people actually understand what cryptocurrencies are really for, they just use them as currency. And they don't bother to tell anybody about it. They don't brag about it. They don't say, hey, yeah, the last time I bought groceries, I bought them with Doge. If they do, it's because they're trying to help you survive like they are. Like you're in Venezuela, and it's the difference between being able to buy groceries and not being able to buy groceries, or at least certain groceries. Where I don't know what it could be. Whether, I don't know, maybe an album by some band that we listen to that they just don't allow on the shelves in Venezuela. Maybe something to that effect. Where it's not available online because they managed to censor a lot of the internet there, and maybe torrents is the only way to go about it. They have that BAT token, or no, not BAT. That was Basic Attention Token, BTT. I guess it's called BitTorrent. that's kind of an interesting idea, I think, but I think in the longer term that it's not really going to work out all that well. I mean, mostly because people have been downloading shit for free or relatively speaking, free, for quite a while. And you've been rewarded for actually participating in supplying the stuff. And so the idea of paying for it in other ways too, on top of that, I don't see it working out. But there has been a lot of movement with regard to Binance. It seems like they're trying to occupy a lot of niches that they haven't before, and that other people have been kind of tentative about trying to occupy. Things like decentralized exchange. I guess they're either working on one or they have one, and they're also working with regulatory arbitrage, which I find very, very interesting. You know, it's one of the reasons I think that the UN and other organizations have been talking about having a uniform, crypto regulation framework that they're going to apply, globally. Going to stop those people from doing that money laundering shit. You know what money laundering is? It's you buying something with a currency without having to pay somebody else to do it. Sorry about that. I had to rehydrate. But yeah, you're not giving them their cut. Them being whoever they are in this circumstance. It could be a national bank. It could be a tax agency. But you're not giving them their cut. To me it puts a little bit of a different connotation on cut. That you're like, I imagine it like you're walking down a hall and there's people lining the walls of the hall and they all got a knife and you got to make it from one end of the hall to the other and they all get a cut and they all get to cut you once and get some blood out of you and cut you again, get some blood out of you. And if you manage to make it from one end of the hall to the other after everybody's got their cut, whatever you got left of yourself at the other end of there, that's your profit. That's the cut that you get. Everybody else got a chunk of your ass from point A to point B. Anyway, I got this article here on Cointelegraph. This is by Anna Alexander. And let's refresh this thing just to 5 hours ago. Social media Mithril becomes purported first to migrate to Binance chain. There's been this increasing migration to quote-unquote Binance chain. Let's dive a little deeper into this. Decentralized social media platform Mithril has adopted the Binance chain, the mainnet of the leading cryptocurrency exchange Binance. The development was announced by Mithril in a blog published on April 18th. With this step, Mithril, a social media platform that rewards content creators with its native token Myth, becomes the purported first to shift to the Binance chain, with Myth token migrating from ERC20 to BEP2. At Mithril, users gain Myth through Mithril mining while managing their assets on the company's platform, Vault. Binance users will be able to withdraw Myth to BEP2 wallets following the completion of the initial migration of the ERC20-based Myth to BEP2. The development will purportedly not have an impact on ERC20 versions of Myth held in private Ethereum wallets. Binance launched Binance Chain yesterday, April 18th, and expects to execute the swap of its native token Binance Coin, BNB, on April 23rd. The exchange initially revealed its plans to launch its own blockchain in December of 2018, intending to build a basis for issuing new cryptocurrencies and initial coin offering tokens. Along with the launch of Binance Chain, the exchange provided details for the conversion of ERC20 BNB tokens into native Binance Chain-based BNB BEP2 tokens. As such, Binance emphasized that it will not support the withdrawal of ERC20 BNB tokens after April 23rd. That's keenly interesting. Let's see if we can dive a little bit deeper into this thing. Let's see, published. Oh, damn you. Mithril partners with Binance is the first project to migrate to Binance chain. This is by Mithril on April 18th, so it wasn't all that long ago, as in like yesterday. Fuck it, let's get into this thing. This is on medium.com. We are proud to announce today that Mithril will be the first project to migrate to Binance Chain, a blockchain software system developed by Binance and the community. By migrating to the Binance Chain, MITH token holders will be the first to experience the speed, security, and user-friendliness on the new Binance DEX platform. That's what we were talking about with the decentralized exchange. And we'll get to that soon. Platform while maintaining full control of their own funds. Migration of MITH from ERC20 to BEP2 will begin shortly after the mainnet launch of Binance Chain on April 18th, 2019. Since the launch of Mithril, we've monitored the progress of various blockchain platforms as they evolve towards increased scalability, security, and ease of use. As Mithril continues to gain real-world usage through Mithril Merchant Network partners in media and entertainment, food and beverage, retail clothing, and events management, the benefits of speed, security, and user-friendliness have become crucial to the success of our ecosystem. Binance's chain focuses on usability, security, along with the incredible speed of 1-second block times, made migrating to the Binance Chain an important strategic initiative for us this quarter. Initial migration from ERC20 to BEP2 will begin shortly after the Binance Chain mainnet launch. Deposits and withdrawals of MITH on Binance.com will be disabled during the initial 12-hour migration period, although trading will continue during this time. Once the initial migration of ERC20-based MITH to BEP2 MITH is complete, Binance users will be able to withdraw MITH to BEP2 wallets, such as Ledger Nano S, and begin trading on Binance DEX. ERC20 versions of MITH held in private ETH wallets or on other exchanges will not be impacted. We are honored to join Binance in growing the ecosystem and supporting the launch of the first DEX that will offer users the benefit of self-custodied funds and the wide liquidity pool of the Binance community. We are grateful for the long-standing partnership with Binance and look forward to continued growth and success together. About Binance Chain. Binance Chain is a blockchain software system developed by Binance and the community. Who's the community? Binance Chain is a community-driven development project with many developers and contributors from all over the world. Binance DEX is the decentralized exchange feature developed on top of the Binance Chain blockchain. Learn more. Yeah, we're definitely keenly interested in that. About Mithril. Mithril is a decentralized social media platform that rewards all content creators. Mithril is building a comprehensive ecosystem that revolves around MITH. Users acquire MITH through Mithril mining, manage their assets on Vault, and spend MITH in various real-time applications. And then there's a bunch of either Chinese or other Oriental language that I cannot read. Yeah. Anyway. Hey, we're on it right now. Binance Decentralized Exchange Testnet. Let's start trading. I'm trying to see if they'll actually give me anything like an AML bullshit. Huh. Wow. That's really interesting. Create a wallet. Wow, I'm not going to do this right now, but yeah. I wanted to get into this Binance chain thing because my interest is that I'm wondering who's mining it. You know, I mean, if it's a blockchain, somebody's mining it. Who's the entity that's mining it? Let's see. Binance will support blah blah blah. Mainnet token swap. I'm looking for a link here to see if I can find a reference for this fucking thing. What is it? Binance mainnet launch learn swap. Let's see here. Man. Here we go. Binance chain mainnet swap. Now, I guess this is something where they originally launched the BNB thing on as a ERC20 token, and I guess they're trying to branch and do a hard fork off of that. And I guess that's probably the best way to put it, is that this would be a hard fork. They're basically doing an algorithm change. They're going from like POS to proof of work. In this case, yeah, actually that would be a really, really apt analogy. Here we go. Binance Chain Mainnet Swap. Dear community, Binance Chain launches its mainnet and plans to execute mainnet swap on April 23rd, 2019. Please note that all dates are only our best estimates and are subject to change depending on how things progress. Please stay tuned for any updates during this period. The following actions will be performed along the way. Number 1. On April 18th, 2019, all pre-selected validators will be online to produce blocks with consensus from the Genesis block. 2. The native coin, Binance Coin, BNB, will be created in the Genesis block. Number 3. The Binance Chain BNB, BEP2, will be managed as follows. Bullet point 1, initial total supply of BNB will be 200 million. Bullet point 2, same as the ERC20 BNB, 11,654,398 of the total BNB supply will be burned on Binance Chain. Bullet point 3, same as the ERC20 BNB, 48 million BNB will be frozen. Let's see here. Bullet point 4, the first batch of 5 million BNB will be allocated and deposited into an address belonging to Binance.com in order to convert the ERC20 BNB for existing owners. Binance will burn 5 million ERC20 BNB as well to keep the total supply of BNB constant. As more users convert to BEP2 BNB native, more BEP2 coins will be released and proportional amounts of ERC20 BNB will be burned while keeping the total supply across both networks constant. Number 4. The Binance Chain Explorer and Web Wallet will be available to selected partners, and beta testing for live testing first, and will be open to public access around April 23rd, 2019. Number 5. No initial trading pairs will be listed until the first batch BNB conversion has occurred. Binance.com will assist with the BNB mainnet swap on April 23, 2019 at the earliest. If everything works as intended, then users will be able to provide a Binance chain address for BNB withdrawal requests. The withdrawal will then act as a mechanism to convert the ERC20 BNB tokens into BEP2 BNB tokens native to Binance chain. If users still want to keep the ERC20 based BNB tokens for any reason during the conversion period, then they may withdraw their BNB from Binance.com accounts into Ethereum wallets before 2 a.m. UTC, April 23rd. Please note that withdrawn ERC20 BNB tokens will only have temporary usage, as all BNB tokens will be migrated to Binance Chain. After April 23rd, Binance.com will not support the withdrawal of ERC20 BNB tokens For any other exchanges currently supporting the trading of BNB, they are encouraged to follow the conversion method of ERC20 BNB into BEP2 BNB as stated above. Binance.com will continue to support the deposit of ERC20 BNB into the foreseeable future. However, you are highly encouraged to deposit your ERC20 BNB and withdraw your BEP2 BNB within 90 days. Wow. Man, I hope you're not holding any of that. If you've got a wallet or whatever, it sounds like they're getting ready to hard fork. Now, I wonder how this will really work out, though. I don't think we've ever... Maybe we've seen a hard fork of this sort. I can't recall any. But this is kind of unique because BNB as a dedicated cryptocurrency in and of itself, it didn't start off as one. It started off as an ERC20 token, which means it was a token issued against a volume of Ethereum. Okay, and so it's bound to the Ethereum blockchain in that way. But they're doing a quote unquote hard fork off of that. Now, how that's going to work out, I mean, if you think about it, we have seen where there has been this kind of top-down approach to hard forks before. As a matter of fact, that's why Ethereum Classic and a couple other little platforms that have spawned as a result of the DAO rollback and other decisions that have been made out there. We've seen where, if the network didn't like what was going on with the coin, that they just said, you know what, no, we're not going to do that. And so I've got to wonder if there'll be any kind of significant volume of users of BNB tokens that are simply going to refuse cashing out their ERC20 tokens. I mean, they're making this decision at a point when there's not a controlling interest or volume of BNB in circulation already. And so, that's one thing to their credit. They had the fixed supply of 200 million, but getting people to cash out. Say if 1 million of the 100 million of the 200 million decide to stay as ERC20 tokens, what happens then? Or maybe 101 million decide to abstain from swapping over to BEP2. Will the fork happen? I don't know. I gotta wonder. Like I said, I think this is kind of unprecedented. I don't think we've seen a case where an ERC20 token has hard forked in this way. Now, whether I think we have seen where they've migrated off of being an ERC20 token and into being their own coin. I guess this would be similar in that way. So like I guess Tron. I don't know, maybe Tron's still an ERC20 token. I don't know that anybody mines it specifically. I don't know. I don't follow Tron all that much. I kind of stuck with the old adage of friends don't let friends buy Tron. I don't think I've ever recommended buying Tron. They've had some really interesting connections, but I don't know about the viability of them. They're the ones that are behind that torrent token, so that ought to give you an idea of their kind of thinking. But yeah, so this Binance coin thing, I'm kind of excited by it, to tell you the truth, and I'd be even more excited about it if I were to find out that they're not just going to have selected block validators, but actually have miners. If they were to convert over to that type of system, to where they were managing their own mining pool but had other people mining it, then I would place a lot more value in this, Because there are people that value Binance as an exchange. There are people that use its services. So these people being willing to maybe dedicate a little bit of their system resources to the process of mining the Binance chain in exchange for BNB, I think the prospect could work out. You know, Binance provides an excellent service, and if it were supporting their DEX, that would be even more reason to support it and maintain the validity of the network and the integrity of the network. But there again, it does open them up to the possibility of being directly scrutinized and viewed in real time. And that's really the trust barrier that a lot of these entities face. You know, they're not happy just making money on the transaction fees if they were mining. Now, they or the block reward if they were to be the entities that were achieving or getting the blocks. You know, this is the thing that makes a cryptocurrency, and not just some timestamp token on a database, on a shared database, that is. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And I got some Death Clock playing in the background, and I love Death Clock. I'm definitely going to be investing in more Death Clock. They've got a couple albums out. It's really funny. They're a band that was started to support a cartoon, an excellent cartoon, by the way. But nonetheless, but there's something about it. I think it's the fact that there's such metal god veterans involved in writing the music, that there's every wonderful hook and aspect of metal kind of crammed into it, and you kind of get that by default just by going with Gene Hoglan as your drummer. It just happens. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw it down here. Awaken, here on Coin Metal. And that was Killing Joke with Loose Cannon. And it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. We will be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want you all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Thank you again for listening. And y'all have an excellent weekend. And you'll be able to find me on Twitter and Facebook until then. Good night. And as far as our last dance is concerned, I haven't actually picked one out. But given our time left, let's go for it. KMFDM, A Drug Against War. Last dance here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening. And y'all have an excellent evening.